Idealism as rage. The system in which the sovereign mind imagined itself transfigured has its primal history in the premental, the animal life of the species. Predators get hungry, but pouncing on their prey is difficult and often dangerous. Additional impulses may be needed for the beast to dare it. These impulses and the unpleasantness of hunger fuse into rage at the victim, a rage whose expression in turn serves the end of frightening and paralyzing the victim, in the advance to humanity that is rationalized by projection. The rational animal with an appetite for his opponent is already fortunate enough to have a superego and must find reason. The more completely his actions follow the law of self-preservation, the less he can admit the primacy of that law to himself and to others. If he did, his laboriously attained status of a zoon politikon would lose all credibility. The animal to be devoured must be evil. The sublimation of this anthropological schema extends all the way to epistemology. Idealism, most explicitly ficta, gives unconscious sway to the ideology that is the not I, l'autrui, and finally, all that reminds us of nature is inferior. So, the unity of the self-preserving thought may devour it without misgivings. This justifies the principle of the thought as much as it increases the appetite. The system is the belly-turned mind, and rage is the mark of each and every idealism. It disfigures even Kant's humanism, and refutes the aura of higher and nobler things in which he knew how to garb it. The view of man in the middle is akin to misanthropy. Leave nothing unchallenged. The august inexorability of the moral law was this kind of rationalized rage at non-identity. Nor did the liberalistic Hegel do better with the superiority of his bad conscience, dressing down those who refused homage to the speculative concept, the hypostasis of the mind. Nietzsche's liberating act, a true turning point of Western thought, and merely usurped by others later, was to put such mysteries into words. A mind that discards rationalization, its own spell, ceases by its self-reflection to be the radical evil that irks it in another. Yet, the process in which the systems decomposed, due to their own insufficiency, stands in counterpoint to a social process. In the form of the barter principle, the bourgeois ratio really approximated to the systems whatever it would make commensurable with itself, would identify with itself, and it did so with increasing, if potentially homicidal, success. Less and less was left outside. What proved idle in theory was ironically borne out in practice, hence the ideological popularity of talk about a crisis of the system among all the types who earlier could not spout enough stentorian rancor at the aperçu, according to the system's own, already obsolete ideal. Reality is no longer to be construed, because it would be all too thoroughly construable. Pretexts are furnished by its irrationality, intensifying under the pressure of the particular rationality. There is disintegration by way of integration. If society could be seen through as a closed system, a system accordingly unreconciled to the subjects, it would become too embarrassing for the subjects as long as they remain subjects in any sense. Angst, that supported existential, is the claustrophobia of a systematized society. Its system character, yesterday still a shibboleth of academic philosophy, is strenuously denied by initiates of that philosophy. They may, with impunity, pose as spokesmen for free, for original, indeed for unacademic thinking. Criticism of the systems is not vitiated by such abuse, a proposition common to all emphatic philosophy, as opposed to the skeptical one, which refrained from emphasis, was that only as a system could philosophy be pursued. This proposition has done hardly less to cripple philosophy than have the empiricisms. The thing philosophy has yet to judge are postulated before it begins. The system, the form of presenting a totality to which nothing remains extraneous, absolutizes the thought against each of its contents, and evaporates the content in thoughts. It proceeds idealistically before advancing any arguments for idealism.